hardened a little bit. And seeing girls like that are absolutely drop dead gorgeous, feminine, but still just massive and bubbly muscles and peeled, like it is impressive. It is impressive.
Well, right now, you're talking to a muscle purse Mo. I think y'all ladies are beautiful, especially
Thank
you,
you.
all season, off season. We get excited about y'all. We love when y'all come into shape. But yeah, this is the thing about, as you know, the vision is kind of changing. You did had a step because you started out in figure, you earned your pro
I
card
turned pro in physique.
in physique, yeah.
And then when I turned pro in physique was when bodybuilding was kind of outed. Like they had stopped it at the Olympia. It wasn't at the Olympia. And so a lot of the bodybuilders were coming into physique and the size just got so much bigger. And if you look at when I turned pro, I was not very big. I'm 5'9", and when I turned pro, I weighed 144, 45 pounds on stage, 144 pounds at 5'9". That's not a lot. That's tiny. Like I weighed 160 on stage this time, you know. Um, and even then, I had atrophied quite a bit by the end of this because with my immune deficiency, it's a balance with me, and I can atrophy pretty easy. So we made the decision to transition me into figure because size wise, I wasn't big enough at the time. Um, and I did Puerto Rico Pro and figure, and it was fun. But I went right back to physique for Texas and got top 10 because I think you could tell that even though I was smaller, I was more comfortable. And then the same thing happened with St. Louis. I did St. Louis. I ended up moving up to seventh, and then I missed my peak. I was with a different coach. Switched coaches, came with Cullum, got super, super sick. Not by him, just I got super sick and I atrophied bad. And so a judge friend of mine said that I looked more figure. And he actually sent video to Tyler Mannion, who also said she's reading more figure right now. So that's why San Antonio, we went into figure. And I got good feedback. They said that it always depends on the lineup with figure. If you're standing in a lineup with bigger girls like Amanda and Jess and like the bigger, more developed girls, then I would have placed higher. But San Antonio just happened to be all smaller girls. And so I placed, it was 30 girls, and I think I placed 13th, which out of I think it was 28. I think 28. I mean, it was a huge show. We had 5 call outs. And they told me my upper body was good for figure at the time. My quads were just a little too big. If I wanted to stay in figure, I needed to bring my quads down. So my coach and I thought about it, and we started that transition, and we lowered the frequency on my quads. I only do 3 quad movements, and they still grew.
I think it's because your quads were genetically proposed to grow, and that's the
Yep,
hard part about because you look at because you were at Arizona, you look at someone like Jessica Reyes Padilla, also the chick who took second to her, Manon. She's gonna be moving over to
to
she because
physique. I think that was the right decision. I stood next to her during tanning, and she was almost the same size as me. Her legs were close. Her upper body was close as well.
yeah, because I think this is where the thing is that a lot of these divisions, even if you look at bikini, wellness, physique, figure, they're starting to really get to the point where they're getting bigger. The girls are evolving more. It's I think they don't with down. I think with bikini and wellness, they sit down with the guidelines, but I don't think they really sit down with the guidelines for physique, women's bodybuilding, or figure like supposed to. Because you look at now, you're not at the Arnold anymore. Either one of you and you did St. Louis a while back. Now because there was only 5 competitors, and I understand it's about money, but still 5 competitors, there's 3 competitors at the Pittsburgh, and I interviewed 2 of those ladies who won their Olympic
That'll change this
qualifications.
year. You notice that it'll change this year. It alternates. So I guarantee you, all the girls that didn't compete this year, that took the year off, they're all going to be in those early shows. Now, St. Louis, honestly, I think a lot of that has to do with the promoters on why the girls don't go to those shows. I'm going to be
Mhm.
honest with you. I didn't have a good time at that show. And I'll be honest about it. It was not a good show for me. Not even the fact that I missed my peak, just everything from backstage, the way that we were kind of just shoveled around and just kind of, it just didn't. When you do a show like Arizona, where, they've got a big backstage area for us, they've got, they take care of us, they make you feel good, they make you feel like a professional athlete that we've actually, because we've earned that title, and then you go to a show like St. Louis and you're out in a damn hallway where you can barely move and you're standing the whole time. There's nowhere for you to sit. There's nowhere for you to like do anything. And it's just like they're just shoving you. It's just really difficult to, want to come back to that show after you've done it.
Mhm.
You've got shows like Atlanta and Chicago. Anytime Tim Gardner puts on a show, Gary Unit, Linda Murray, Wings of Strength, like they just make the shows so much fun, more fun for us. I mean, and of course, being a Texas girl, Sheila and Freddie, I mean, they kill it every year. Like Texas Pro is incredible for us. And then you've got Sarah throwing in extra money. So yeah, people are going to flock to the shows where we feel like we're wanted and we're appreciated.
Yeah, I said, guys.
Pittsburgh is a great show. I think, and this is just my hypothesis, I think one, because Natalia's done that show the last 2 years, people don't want to go
You
to a
know,
show where they don't even stand a chance of like getting a qualifier because of her coming in and taking that spot. And then the other being, a lot of the girls waited till the end of the year. If you see, as soon as it hit Atlanta,
it
the
picked up.
shows are 20 deep, 30, 20, 25 deep, boom, 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 boom. They all waited because it's hard for us to hold that kind of condition and even to come up and then try to come back down as women, especially if the women that, if they are enhanced athletes, like now you've got to run into things like that with health and everything else that comes along to it, hormone levels. So I think sometimes the earlier shows, unless it's girls that took the year off prior, they'll come in and do those shows. So I guarantee you Pittsburgh will be bigger this year. New York will be bigger. New York was pretty big. New
Yeah,
York was pretty big.
I think we had I think at least about 9 ladies at that show. Ashley won that show. That was her bodybuilding
Mhm.
debut. I know I was rooting for Marika Jones because I interviewed Marika. She won St. Louis. Sharonka Hinton looked pretty good.
Mhm.
She didn't do as good as we thought was going to do at the Texas Pro. But yeah, I heard stories about the Tones, and they the ones also kicked out women's bodybuilding from Omaha, and they said that they told us, hey, if you're not enough women for Omaha Pro, we may not have physique for next year. But like I said, I do follow guys like Gary Uni just had the North Americas and the Masters World Championships.
Oh,
Linda Murray. Actually, I remember when I was in Savannah. I was sitting up the front, and she turned around. She smiled at me. I didn't get a chance to talk to her, but I did get to talk to Alina Popa, and Wings of Strength. And when I think of Wings of Strength, I think about the. I gotta say this every time I think about this guy, Jake Wood. Say, yo, Jake, I want that money. I want that gun. I can't help that because he really what he's doing. He's the guy who saved women's bodybuilding. I've been a fan of women's bodybuilding. I
he
wasn't too much,
did.
yeah, I wasn't too much fan of physique because I called it watered down women's bodybuilding. But talking to ladies like yourself, I've become a fan. We have here a comment from a man, KL. He says this. He says, "What excites you about the sport? So, what really gets you interested? What motivates you to compete and be an athlete in the sport?"
Honestly, when we get to be on stage and like with Arizona this year, I picked my posing music and I didn't choreograph my routine. I picked my music, I walked out on stage and I just felt the energy of that stage and I felt the energy of being there and just being present. And I just felt so excited and I just flowed and I just got to showcase the work that I had done. And anytime I get to step on stage and do that, it lights a passion in you all over again, and it's just that's probably my most exciting thing, is just stepping on stage and you're glammed up and then you just get to show the world, you know what it's like to be muscular and strong and unique, because I feel like women that do what I do, we're unique, we're not for everybody, and that excites me too, is I get to be different. I don't blend in.
Yeah, I think it's good to be different because everybody's saying be boring, and people don't understand about this sport. The mindset of the everyday person is like, okay, I just take this, and I can be big and strong. I got a friend. He is an IB pro. He told me that George, guys cannot take what I take and come in my shape without working out, being consistent. You can take the same shit I do, but you can look like shit. You gotta be consistent. You have to work out, follow your diet, your regimen. You mentioned your coach. That's also important. Who's your coach and who you working with?
So I am with Callum Raystack. He actually just had his show out in the UK. It's a Two Bros event, the Haystack Rumble, I think is what it's called. He's known on social media as Callum Pro Coach. So I'm with Pro Coach, and Callum is incredible. He actually was my husband was had parted ways with Patrick Tor about 2 weeks out from Olympia in 2022, and our friend Valentine was with Pro Coach. And they were Darwin's like, well, I'm gonna go to Vegas and whatever happens, happens. If I try to peak myself. And Callum was like, he took him under his wing. He's like, I got you. He peaked him. He took him the last 2 weeks in, got him on stage. He looked phenomenal. Out of 60 competitors, he ended up in out of six call outs, he ended up in I think third call outs, which I think he ended up 16th or 7th, 16th. I think he was because they after 16 they all tie, you know, but you can kind of see how they line them up where they're at. Which is great because he didn't even know how he was going to do. He was dealing with things with his mom. His mom had been in the hospital. She had multiple aneurysms. We couldn't go to Colombia to see her at the time because we were working with immigration. So think about all that stress. And he still got on stage and did how he did, you know. So Callum picked him up. I did St. Louis, and he had been with Colin for a few months. And then my coach and I decided to part ways with him because things were just not working out. I love him to death as a person, and I will always love him to death as a person. But as a coach, we're not on the same page. And I was struggling with that mentally because I loved him so much as a person. We were good friends before he was my coach. Um, and my husband, I think, saw that I was kind of struggling mentally with that and just couldn't make the decision because it hurt me to to have to walk away from somebody that you care about, right? And he reached out to Colin and he's like, hey, you know, you've got a bunch of good coaches on your team. Is there anybody that may be interested in taking on my wife? And Colin goes, yeah, me. And he was like, well, I didn't know if you had any spots. He was like, I absolutely would take her. And he did. And he took me when I was already tired and busted, hella health problems. And then we spent this entire prep dealing with hella health problems. And, you know, one of the greatest things when it comes to Callum is his ability to adjust. I'm in an interview. I'm in an interview. Thank you.
Is that your
Um,
daughter?
yeah. She is his ability to kind of I say he bends like a reed in the wind, like he just adjusts and goes. You know, I had, you know, this health problem hit and now I have to be on insulin. I have to take thyroid medication. I have to take micro antibiotics for my immune deficiency. And he's like, okay, let's adjust this, let's do this. And not a lot of coaches have the patience to deal with an athlete that has to get through this to where we can get them to stage. And he was like, all right, let's roll. And, you know, we went to Colombia for a week even before the show because we thought we'd have 7 weeks when we came back. I got hurt, ended up with two. And he goes, everything that's happened this prep, he goes, and you placed 8 out of 21. He's like, that's not a he's like, that's not bad, Jess. He goes, imagine what you could do when you're 100%.
Hmm.
And I
Yeah.
was like, I'm stuck with you forever. Like, you're never allowed to get rid of me because you believe in me. And he's already said it because my goal for 2025 is I really want Masters Olympia.
Oh,
I mean,
yeesh.
we all want the big O stage, right? We all want Olympia, but I really, even more than regular Olympia, I want Masters because I want to go to Tokyo.
Well, as you know, the Master Olympia does, if you win it, it does qualify you for the Big Olympia.
Mhm.
And that is a great, short because I know some ladies who I've come with, they want to do Master Olympia this year. I know one lady said she's already qualified. She's a big competitor. And just had the Masters World Championship. Just saw one lady who's already qualified for that. She also was at she won the over 40. That is Dr. Natalie
Mhm.
Spurring. And shouts to her because I reached out to her, hope to do it with her sometime soon. And yeah, because you know what, Masters really has grown in the last few years. There's quite a number of women like just saw watch the Alina Popa Classic. You have someone like this one lady I met when I was at Savannah, Irene Anderson at 60, beating out maybe women who were like 10 years, 20 years younger than her.
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
Jody, who just won Arizona, she's 44,
yeah, I
43 or
know.
44.
Yeah, I know lady, Janine Rakowski. They competed about the same time, and they pro about the same time. They know each other. You look at I saw one lady say she might be returning because they were bringing back the Masters. That's Michelle Brent, and she's almost 70. I mean, people need to get opportunity for your Masters competitors because you know what? I know one thing about this: you have to pay to compete. To me that don't make sense. Why you have to pay to compete if you're already a pro? I would say if you're amateur, you have to pay to compete. But as a pro,
Yeah, and I agree with that too. I don't think that even master shows, like, I don't feel like once you've earned that right, I feel like you shouldn't have to pay. Now, I know that some shows, like I know Daytona Pro, because I know the promoters for that show, really nice guy. Mike is super, super nice. I like him a lot.